Oh, I guess I won't. You want me to do that again?
Yeah.
Meeting is called to order.
Wait. Too quiet, go on. Take two. All right, now you're live. Wait. No, go ahead.
Meeting is called to order. All right, roll call. Everybody's here. I would look for a motion to approve the March 8th agenda you have before you, hopefully. Supervisor Haskey, second by Supervisor Wagner. Any discussion, changes to the agenda? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Public comment. Do we have anyone who wishes to speak? No one wishes to speak? All right. Administrators report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Everyone has the personnel report in front of them. But I did want to give, as you see, it's kind of a full report. Couple operator jailers, the new parks caretaker, they have all started. We have a couple of job changes, and then we have one resignation, but actually we will be having a second one coming up shortly. But I'll touch base on that in a second. As you can see from the recruitment standpoint, we're putting together eligibility lists for the radio operator jailer as well as highway worker. We also are starting our seasonal worker recruitment for both highway and parks. And then what we have is some openings, which I'll start on. We will be having an upcoming opening in the CLTS, the Children's Waiver Unit. One of the workers has indicated she will be moving on. She just hasn't given us the end date as of yet. You already know of Karina Dantoin, who has left on the 26th. We also have a contract worker in behavioral health who will be moving on as well. In addition, in the upcoming months, we will have 2 behavioral health workers that will be taking maternity leave. So there will be a lot of upheaval and activity in the Human Services Department. So eventually I will be coming to the committee to ask for approval to fill the vacancy of the CLTS position. The other behavioral health is a contract, so that we just usually contract out with Helping Hands is who we usually do it through. And when all that comes about, I will make you aware. Other than that, that's all I really have from a personnel standpoint. Mr. Wisnicki and I will be traveling to the Town of Franklin Town Board meeting tonight to answer any questions that the town board may have on the siting of a tower in Curran. So we hope to be able to be out of here by 6:30. So with that, I should stop talking. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Here we go. Approving filling of vacant positions. Back to you.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. The Child and Family Unit, the social worker, that is again to fill the vacancy left by Karina Dantoin. The Human Services Director, I'll just do them all if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
That'd be perfect.
Human Services Director, as I've said before, I did not plan to do this long term. March will be a year that I have taken the interim position as Human Services Director. What I am looking for to replace myself is I want a person that has a focus on administrative and financial as opposed to specifically social work. We have unit directors that have that expertise, and I want someone that is going to continue to look at processes and money. In addition, I would like them, if possible, to have some understanding as to how human services works. They may not necessarily have to have a social work degree, but understand human services. And then if I want to dream, I want someone that understands how Kewaunee human services works. So after the approval here, I will start making that recruitment and that search. and hope to then get back to you as soon as I feel, as county administrator, that I have a replacement I'd like to bring forward. As a matter of process, I would probably announce that that selection to the Human Services Committee so they are aware. But as for, I do, as county administrator from a statutory standpoint, I don't need, and I'm not saying it in a mean way, I do not need to have committee approval of my selection. Instead, that would go to executive committee, and ultimately it's the county board that would approve any recommendation that I would have for a department head. As for eligibility list, again, we have picked our 2 folks, but now the cupboard is bare. We know that the radio operator jailer position has some fluidity and volatility in it, so it's always nice to have a eligibility list. And as for the register and probate secretary, the current secretary has moved up to the register and probate assistant position, worker position, and so therefore the half-time register and probate secretary position is now vacant. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So you want us, you're looking for a motion to fill all of these?
Yes, you can do them individually at one at a time would be my suggestion.
Let's take them one at a time. Social worker, child family, yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Supervisor Wagner.
I'll move to move forward with the social worker position.
Do I have a second? Supervisor Romden. Is there any discussion on this? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Human Services Director. Supervisor Haskey, second by Augustine. Discussion?
Yeah. I think it's very important here. I like the direction that the administrator wants to take in looking for a person that's more into the finances or the financial portion of that department, because that has been for long term here. It has always been the main issue about that department. It's very difficult, I guess, to with these billing hours and things. So I'm very pleased with that.
A lot of complicated factors involved with their billing, and there's no point in the county paying for something that we're entitled to have reimbursed from the state and so forth. Right. So yeah, that's a great direction. Supervisor Romden.
Seeing, I'm assuming that this is basically going to be like a hybrid position, something that we probably haven't had before. Is there going to be a job description that this committee needs to approve, or what is this person actually going to be responsible for, and what are going to be his duties, or her duties?
Right. To me, and I will review the job description. I don't see the duties changing very much from a statutory responsibility standpoint. It's just that the background skills may not be as heavy on the human services social work standpoint, and instead be more focused on an administrative financial standpoint. But I'll review, and if there's changes, I will bring them forth.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Eligibility list, Sheriff's Department.
I'll make that motion.
Supervisor Poppy, second by Yonke. Any questions, discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Register and Probate Secretary. Supervisor Wagner, second by Augustine. Discussion? Is this something that we have reviewed this? This needs to be filled now, or?
It would probably be best if we could have Julie Schleiss, who is the Register and Probate, come in and talk about that. I know that there have been some changes regarding electronic filing and the like, but Julie would probably be best able to direct that to begin with.
She's here?
We would like you to come to a microphone.
Otherwise, Supervisor Wagner will never hear you. He may not hear you as it is.
Okay.
You having trouble too, Masteler?
I'll try to speak loudly. So I guess one of the main concerns with our office is office coverage. There are just two of us. In our job, we clerk a lot of court hearings. Sometimes they're lengthy. So if one person is off for whatever reason, we both have vacation, or if someone is sick, we need to close the office while we go up to the courtroom to clerk that hearing. Also, when one of us is on vacation, we have to close the office during the lunch hour. Or if someone's gone and the other person gets sick, it really can present a problem. So that is one of the concerns. Also, we are already absorbing the duties, the best that we can, with the absence of the part-time person. And we're a busy office, so that's kind of difficult. Another thing is if we are short-staffed, we have less time to work on collections. I would just like to note that in the past 5 years, we have recovered an average of $42,558 in reimbursement. And that means fees that have been paid by the county, that we've done the work to collect those fees, to collect reimbursement, and it gets paid back to the county. A lot of it is tax intercept, and that's pretty involved doing that paperwork. So some of that could go down if we didn't have the manpower. Other than that, I guess I just feel like it's crucial for that position to be filled, and I would appreciate your consideration.
What is the rate on this position? Just out of curiosity?
I don't have that right with me, Mr. Chair. I could find out.
That's okay.
And
Supervisor.
may I say one more thing, please?
Yes.
The position obviously is without benefits because it's part-time, so it is somewhat minimal.
Right. I was just curious. Doesn't sound like we have it. That's okay. Any
Gary,
questions?
It's right here.
Oh,
Hang on.
Thank you, Supervisor Poppy. It is register and prorate the secretary position. It has a salary range of $15.60 up to $19.89. So step one would be $15.60. So call it about $17,000.
any other questions? Very well. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to approval of GIS parcel editor / help desk specialist job description and wage scale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have been working with Mr. Loining, the IT director, on helping to put together a job description for this new hybrid position. As you will see in front of you, the position will still be doing its help desk specialist duties, but with the pending retirement of our land information officer, Mr. Hansen. Mr. Hansen has started to do some training with Mr. Donlin, who is the incumbent in this position, to be able to do what are called parcel splits. So therefore, the quick example is if you have a 40-acre parcel and you need to split it into two 20-acre parcels, well, from a GIS standpoint, that needs to be put into the database. So that way you now have two lots as opposed to one. Those simple splits are something that Mr. Donlin is starting to learn, and we hope to have him up and done by the end of the year. And as his skills increase, then we would be taking those more difficult splits, and he would be taking those on. In the early period, those duties would be done by Ruckert and Milky, who we contract with for other items in the land information area. But so in front of you is the job description. As for the wage scale, I reviewed 14 different counties as to their help desk position, as well as their GIS coordinator or GIS technician position, depending on the county. Two different methodologies that I used. One is to take all of the counties and then divide by the number. The other is to take out the high and the low. To me, the high and the low allows for those outliers that may be extremely high or extremely low to be taken out. So the difference between the GIS position and a help desk position was roughly about $3.25. But we know that in this new position, they're not going to be doing GIS full time. So therefore, I increased the position from the help desk position by about $1.53, I believe it is. And so what I did then is that's where I get the proposed wage scale for the GIS coordinator / help desk position, where it would be from step one is $24.53 up to $29.18. Any questions?
Questions? Supervisor Yonke.
Will this person be taking care of Kewaunee City, like the IT director?
No, the IT director still does, well, as a help desk specialist, what happens is the Kewaunee Information Technology Department provides assistance to the city of Kewaunee. So therefore, if something needs to be done, whether it's Ross or Kevin, whoever has the time to assist them can assist them, and the city is charged for that time at $75 an hour. That would not change. What the change that we're looking at here is that the Kevin's position would be taking on Geographic Information System or GIS duties, which is part of what is now currently located in the Land Information Office. And at any time, if Ross is here, if I'm saying something incorrectly, Ross, please correct me. So,
Other questions? Supervisor Romden?
Based on this information, are we looking at two different positions here, or are we looking at?
Supposed to be one position. The help desk specialist will be assuming the GIS role. I think your question might be more specifically, how is that going to work, and is that individual going to be able to accomplish all of the tasks, or are we going to be asked in another year for another position? Is that it?
No, my question is on this. Currently, there it says help desk support technician, and then underneath that it says help desk support proposed, and then under that it says GIS coordinator help desk proposed. So, are we looking at two positions, or are we looking at just the GIS coordinator help desk position? Is that what we're looking at?
no, I can answer that, Supervisor Romden, and I'm sorry for the confusion. I know that previous conversations amongst this committee have talked about the wage scale for the current help desk position. And so therefore, in doing this work, what I had done is, again, use the same methodology and created what could be a proposed help desk support technician wage that mirrors more what is the labor market and wage scale around with other counties. So no, we are not looking at, nor am I recommending in even a year or two, unless things drastically change, I am not recommending the addition of a third position in the IT department. It would still be the IT director, and then it would be the GIS coordinator / help desk specialist position. Part of the reason for this wage scale and job description is for two reasons. Currently, we have hired Mr. Donlin to be a help desk support person. And he is open to being a GIS help desk support position. He is open to doing the combined position. But as with anyone, I would think that they would want to know, well, what are those responsibilities and what would the future pay be for that position? And so this gives some clarity to Mr. Donlin as to what the responsibilities would be and what the pay would be if he were to assume that position. If we were to therefore decide that from the training standpoint he is not able to do it, then he would stay in his help desk support position, and we would contract out for the GIS coordinator duties with Rupert Milkey.
Supervisor Augustine?
So when we approve this tonight, are we approving just the GIS coordinator help desk proposed? Or is it going to be the help desk support proposed too? Are they both being?
Nope, it would. The only thing, if what is on the agenda is you would be approving the job description, which is in your packet, and the GIS coordinator help desk position wage scale. But, and I'll be very clear and I apologize, that position and that wage scale does not become effective until Mr. Donlin assumes the duties of that position. And it's more than likely my feeling that will probably not happen in this calendar year.
This committee can, approve any part of it they wish.
Correct.
You can approve the adjustment to the help desk specialist, or you can not, or you can leave that alone. You can approve the GIS specialist position tonight. With the understanding that would go into effect when the duties are assumed, or you can do nothing. I wouldn't recommend doing nothing. I do think that yes, Supervisor Romden.
I like things simple. So basically what you're asking us to do here is to basically approve this new position at an increase of $4.70. So if we hire a GIS help desk person, the starting rate is going to be $24.53.
Correct.
Okay.
So it would be the same rate then all of the time, or when he is doing GIS work?
It would be the same rate because the hybrid position takes into account both duties.
Okay. So we wouldn't have to worry about trying to keep track of those somehow, or you wouldn't?
Correct.
Good.
See, it seems like we finally got to the real answer to the real question here is when this person takes over, what are we going to pay him?
Well, we like to run around for a while.
I apologize for the confusion.
This board doesn't like to move too quick, you know that. Anybody care to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we, excuse me, that we approve the GIS coordinator desk rate as proposed.
Just the rate, Supervisor Massler, or the job description as well?
The job description and the rate.
And when will that take effect then?
It would be in while you do it now, the position he is not taking the position. I'm assuming he will take the position starting January 1 of 2022 if all goes according to plan.
Okay. Is there a second? Supervisor Haskey? Any more questions? Supervisor Yonke?
Yeah. Once they start the GIS portion, is there part of it paid by the state?
There could be, yes, because we get a land information grant that helps to pay for projects as well as salaries. So yes, we could do it either that way, or there's a couple different ways you could slice and dice this. We could do it from that standpoint. We could do it from the property lister standpoint. Regardless, we're not going to do anything where all of a sudden we have to give that money back to the state or not capture all of that state money. A very good question, Supervisor Yonke.
Any other questions? No other discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, now see, was this the third or the fourth time we?
At least.
Six. It hasn't been six. It has not been six. I know that. Is it three or
Six.
four?
Sixth.
It is the sixth.
It's the sixth.
Are you serious? No, it can't be six. It's three or four.
Let's go with 5.
Split the difference. Well, now, see, you didn't think we'd ever get it done, did you? I told you we'd get there. You just got to be patient. All right. Approve salary compensation request, Sheriff's Department.
You have in front of you a proposal from the Sheriff's Department regarding the patrol lieutenant asking for additional straight time beyond the 40 hours. The proposal was in your packet. I also then provided you which I handed out this evening, is just kind of what do I want to call it? An unofficial time card that helps to identify specific examples of when the lieutenant was asked to put in time beyond what would be the normal workday. If there are specific questions or the like, I know that the sheriff and Lieutenant Pishek are here to answer any questions you may have. And for that matter, I'm sorry, it may even be better for the sheriff to provide some context if need be.
Why don't we give the sheriff a chance to address it, then Supervisor Masteler can ask his question.
All right, thank you. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. What we're proposing is basically in addition to the salary is some slight compensation just at straight time to be maxed at, to be capped at 10 hours per pay period for all these, for the numerous out of office on-call situations which the lieutenant gets called into. And I'm going to allow Lieutenant Pishek to advance on this, but this is a conversation we've had numerous times throughout the years as it relates to the movement from your union positions, basically your deputies up to sergeants, and then this sort of demarcation into the lieutenant positions, which of course are salaried. And one of the issues we've seen historically, and we've tried to deal with it, but it's going to sneak up on us again, is this issue of compression. If we want to recruit as well as retain the right people into these positions, we want to make sure we have some mechanisms by which we maintain that spread or lack of compression, I guess, for lack of a better term. We want to try to minimize, I don't know, we never eliminate, but minimize that issue of compression. When you got these folks that are willing to move into these roles of responsibility, we've got to figure out a way to make sure that is palatable for them. And what we're seeing is the vast amount of call-ins that we're getting throughout the evening, not necessarily because the deputies, aren't trained or don't have the information, but we're dealing with such dynamic situations in regards to warrants or arrests or assaults or these EM1s, and they're looking for guidance. And we, of course, don't have solid sergeant coverage 24/7, so that then defaults to our lieutenant. So again, this is a proposal to try to both make it more effective in an operational mode as well as to provide some incentive into the future if and when people are looking to move into these leadership ranks. But I'm going to turn this over to Lieutenant Pishek to provide a little bit more background.
Well, I was asked to put together.
Can you turn your speaker on, please?
Yeah.
Green. We want Supervisor Wagner to hear you.
Okay. Well, good evening. After the first 4 days of taking the position, I went and met with Administrator Felt and informed him of some of the obstacles I had come across the first week and the extended hours. Not to mention, some of the duties were fairly stressful when we were talking about calls that our officers had to go on that included firearms, officers under investigation for allegations, officers out on FMLA and filling the schedule, and many other tedious responsibilities. I did put together a justification summary. I hope you were able to review that, just to emphasize the importance of the position I have in this day and age of our society. I also did some research in contacting the human resources departments of several counties to find out what their compensation was for somebody that had a similar position as mine. My position is somewhat unique as it combines several different realms of specialty in law enforcement. It's not just patrol. It's also having the knowledge of investigations, the knowledge of drug activity and drug task force. We have school liaison officers that I supervise. I supervise also our ICAC, or our Child Crimes Investigation Unit. So it's a lot of different hats that I have to wear and be up to date on, so that I can supervise our personnel properly. So I did put together a comparison of salaries and of compensation for many of the counties in Northeast Wisconsin. I believe my research was valid since all these counties fall under the Green Bay metropolitan area. So these numbers, that's where the numbers were developed. And then most recently, I did put together my hours for the first 30 days that I was in the position. We carry department or county paid for cell phones, and I carry it off duty. It's instead of the old pagers, and I have no choice but to answer that. I welcome it, actually, to help our officers, just because they're looking for answers and guidance. And so in my first 30 days, I had 2 24-hour periods where I didn't have to answer a page. Other than that, it was every weekend. Even this past weekend, again, it was Friday evening, Saturday morning at 6:30. I've had to answer pages at 1 o'clock in the morning, midnight. It's whenever. So I believe that to put together the proposal with some evidence to support my request was fairly justified. And that's where we are today.
Sheriff, you were going to add, or if you're just taking the microphone back?
No, the only thing I was going to add, and Eric alluded to it a little bit, when we look at the way just like everything else, right? We just talked about what we're doing over with, GIS, the help desk, IT. I think every department strives to do that, where you try to squeeze as many duties and responsibilities into these roles. And that's what makes us as efficient as we are. So when Lieutenant Piszek did this research and saw how in most counties, they isolate and say, okay, you're a patrol supervisor, you're a investigations. But of course, here in Kewaunee County, again, we pride ourselves in how we blend these things together to try to find efficiency, staffing position. And again, all we're looking for is that additional capped at 10 hours is just that additional 10 at straight, not at overtime, but it's straight. But again, something to give that incentive both to the current person in the position, as well as, the incentive for those individuals to move into leadership roles in the future. So again, I don't feel it's unreasonable. I think with what we task our individuals with comparative to other counties, we really do pile a lot on them. And they do a great job. I mean, Lieutenant Piszek has absolutely been invaluable in the short time that we've promoted him. Just an amazing choice. And we're very proud of that choice, and we have full confidence. But we do want to make sure that we're sustaining that energy, we're sustaining that commitment. And I don't think this is a great deal. It's just something, again, to provide that incentive.
Supervisor Masteler, back to your question.
This is salaried position, correct?
Correct.
And it pays $83,075 a year.
Correct.
Okay. And Dan, you and I had a lot of conversations on this. And Tom is another one that has also echoed this same thought. That when we take a salaried position, when we take that position, we know in advance what we're going to be paid and what's expected of us. And if I was taking that position and having to work 20 or 30 hours a week of overtime or supposedly extra time, then I might complain a little bit. But I'm telling you, I honestly, I can't sell this to the taxpayers. I honestly believe that when Lieutenant Pishak took this position, he knew what his wage was going to be. He could have asked all the questions at that time. And I'm sorry, I cannot support an increase in wages. I'm sorry.
Any other discussion?
Just as
Supervisor
a point of
Brown?
clarification, I think Mr. Pishak tells me he makes 77.9, not 83,075. I don't know if that's what the correct number is, but just so we're talking about this right number.
Okay, that's not the number I was given previously, but I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't.
Could you repeat that number again, please?
77937.
That's not correct. Can we get a correct number? I mean, I have a couple of different numbers, so.
Well, even from Mr. Pishak's summary, $39.94 an hour. $39.94 times 2,080 hours would come out
That was the
to
pay in 20.
over 80,000.
83,075. 20.
I'm sorry, but that was the pay in 2020. The pay was changed in 2021
Gotcha.
to 37.47 an hour.
I'll have to take a look.
So about a $6,000 decrease.
Yeah, if you got it. Is that the 21?
Supervisor Poppy is consulting with his library, which he carries with him.
That doesn't have that on there. This is 2017.
I get,
I'd have
can
to
I
go
just
back.
ask
Yeah.
the
please,
sheriff a
Supervisor
question
Brown.
basically is,
I can go back. Give a second.
have things drastically changed with that position since Lieutenant Beezer left and Eric moved in?
Well, the one of the criteria was, again, that starting wage.
That's not my question. Has the position changed?
No.
I'm not talking about the wage.
No, I mean, the responsibilities, the roles, the duties.
So in all the years that Lieutenant Beezer was in that position, he never came to this committee, I don't think, that I've been here since, and asked for additional pay because he was putting in extra hours. I think the job description was available. I think the salary was posted, and I think that's where we should be.
Supervisor Yankee, you had your hand up or you didn't? Okay.
What was the salary posted?
Well, there seems to be disagreement on that, so I'm not going to.
Sheriff, what was, do you know what the?
Right. So the difference, the discrepancy, when you look at 2020, so that was the previous lieutenant who had gone up through the steps, right? So when the agreement was made to bring on the new role, that was brought down for the new person who would then, build into it over time as well. So the
what you're
numbers you
saying
see
is
in
the
front of you.
past lieutenant had to work his way up to that pay that he had. So how many years did he serve as in that position of yours?
So Lieutenant Vaser in
Yes.
that role. So he had prior to Lieutenant Gallbrand's retirement, so approximately 6 years.
And that's how he worked his way up the pay scale in that.
Correct.
And then when we hired you, you started back at the pay
Lieutenant,
scale.
But when
Try to answer
Lieutenant Vaser took over, he started at the top step. When Lieutenant Gallbrand retired, Lieutenant Vaser took over at the same wage at the top step. When I took over, I was brought back down several steps.
That was indicated ahead of time though, correct? You know
Yes,
what
sir.
you know what the salary was ahead. Mr. Felt, do you have a definitive answer here? Not that this is the critical point.
Absolutely. Lieutenant Pishek is correct. The starting salary for his position starting in 2021 is $37.47, which multiplied times 2080, which I'm going to assume Mr. Pishek's multiplication is correct,
And
which makes 77,000 and change.
And can you give us the rationale for that?
The starting wage was how we usually do it from a starting wage standpoint is we take whatever their current wage is, we move them up to the next wage scale and then go up a step. Lieutenant Pishek was making $33.50, I believe, that was the top wage for an investigator. Is that right, Supervisor Pishek? $33.50 as an investigator?
I think that's about right.
Okay, so $33.50, but if we just went up there and then went from that respect, then from that specific methodology, then he would only be at roughly $34.96 or $35, but with the duties and everything else, I felt it appropriate that we could put him up additional steps beyond that and started it at $37.47. I did not feel it was appropriate to put him at the same salary as the other lieutenant, because he is starting the position brand new and therefore has not demonstrated the requisite performance to be at the same level as the current lieutenant.
Previous. Any other questions? Okay. If there's a motion, I'll entertain it. If not, I'm going to move on. All right. One-time supplemental compensation, public health. The way that this came about, this one is basically the reason you have this before you is, well, I'm going to blame it on Masteler to some extent. But it's my fault, I guess, as much as his. And the reason for that is because, obviously this has been an extraordinarily unusual year. There have been a tremendous number of additional hours in the public health department. I asked about this. I inquired about this. I received hours from Cindy. She is the only salaried person in that department. It is the only department that has been impacted in the way. It is the only department that has been impacted in this type of significant way because of the pandemic. And I do agree that when you're in a salaried position, it means more than you work 40 hours, you just don't have to punch in and out kind of a thing. I mean, I believe in that very firmly. And I do believe that we have the right to expect an exceptional number of hours from salaried people at times. However, this has been a year. I do believe it is way outside of what we would consider the normal parameters. How exactly do you define and justify and defend the exact number? She's the only salaried person in that department. I believe that it has been an extraordinary year. So my suggestion, recommendation based on the little bit of research I did was that we would do a one-time $2,000 payment. I believe that says, hey, you went way above and beyond. This was outside of the ordinary. We're not trying to, justify every single minute and so forth. This is a way of saying you went way above and beyond, and we wish to recognize that in some way. So
I will make a motion that we do a one-time supplement payment to Cindy for $2,000.
I'll second that.
okay. And before we vote, I just want to say the reason that this is Masteler's fault is I wanted him to take care of it at finance. I brought donuts and he kicked it over to me. So
Can I ask how many hours she gave you?
Yeah, it was
About three, if you include 2019 and 2020 up to Valentine's Day.
Teen shouldn't be included.
I'm sorry, 2020. I
Thank you.
apologize, Supervisor Kroll.
So,
20 in 2020 there was 334.5, and in 2021 up to Valentine's Day there was another 54. So call it well over 400 hours.
And I will grant, we could have a tremendous discussion about what I would consider to be normal hours and acceptable. Because to me, 60, 70 hour weeks, it happens. So how much of this, I think though, it's pretty hard to come to an agreement on that, but I do think that everybody would agree that this has been outside of the ordinary, substantially outside of the ordinary. I think this amount is an appropriate way of saying, hey, we appreciate it. And, that's kind of my take on it. I'm not usually one to encourage spending, as you may be aware. But I do think this is appropriate. Any other questions? Yeah, there was a second.
Motion by Poppy,
Supervisor
seconded by
Massler.
Massler.
Sorry, you weren't paying attention. Any other questions? All right, we'll, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Then we move on to discussion county housing study.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can tell you that the housing study has caused discussion within the county. I know that the city of Kewaunee has been asking questions of Bay Lake since their presentation, and that there is conversation there. I hope that we can eventually continue to have some discussion regarding the housing study and next steps. One of the simplest ones that I was thinking about for consideration for the board is something that doesn't necessarily require us to spend any money. Instead, there is money available, and you have it here in your packet, called the CDBG Housing Rehabilitation and Down Payment Assistance Loan Program. One of the simplest ways is if you meet certain income eligibility requirements, you can have an inspector come to your home, take an inspection, look at your furnace, your water heater, your structural, your siding, your roof, and depending on their condition, those things can be fixed, and it will not cost the homeowner a penny out of their pocket at the outset. What will happen is that will be a loan, a 0% loan, and that is then paid off when the house is then sold. That's a great way to try to fix up some homes where the homeowner does not have the resources to provide the necessary repairs. With the committee's approval, I would like to start to promote that. And
how is this funded again? I'm sorry.
it's funded through what's called CDBG, or Community Development Block Grant. So it's federal money that comes every single year regardless. So it's not anything new that we have to apply for to get ours. There's a consortium which goes through the Brown County Planning Department, and they oversee the program. If we find someone that is possibly eligible, we refer them to the Brown County Planning Department to therefore talk to them and see if they're eligible, and encourage them then to make an application. And then from there, if everything works out okay, then there's bids for contractors. And again, the payment is done through Brown County. The only thing that we as Kewaunee County have to do is approve the application. And I'll give a very easy example. It was only a few weeks ago that Brown County did contact me because there was a homeowner that was needing an emergency replacement of their septic system, and that was going to be $15,000. So they did that through an application of this program. Of course, I put in my support, voting aye to have the funds spent. everyone from the board gave their vote. And so that septic is being replaced. And again, that is something that is done through this program.
So how are the applications approved then? Do they come to us to, no?
There's a regional board of which I sit on it as county administrator, and there's different representatives for each county within the region, and they vote. So it's not specifically a county board function. And again, that's not where I'm asking this committee to appropriate any money per se. But as long as the committee is okay with me trying to push the promotion of this program and make people aware, I thought we could start first that way.
What are the downsides to this? What would be the negative?
The only negative is that you will see my ugly mug possibly on TV.
Well, that makes me against it.
That's, well, yeah, I don't like scaring children, but every once in a while it's a necessary evil. So.
Question.
Good thing. Question, somebody, Supervisor Romden, a serious question.
Yeah. We ran a program in Algoma from 1998 to 2008, roughly, similar to this, but it was the only difference that I can see is that there was the city had to establish a target area where the 51% of the people in that target area were low to moderate income, and those are the people that qualified. So we had to set off sections of the city, and the city of Algoma actually held the mortgage on those loans when they were made. Who is going to hold the paper on these loans?
That would all be done through Brown County and through that program. The county would not hold the mortgages.
Okay, thank you.
And you're right. That was you had done something. I believe also there was application for a CDBG loan directly itself that went to you as the city, if I'm correct, Supervisor Romden.
Yes.
And you had also then contracted with someone to kind of oversee the program, so that way all the necessary paperwork was being covered. Okay.
No, I administered that program.
Lucky you.
Yes, it was a pain.
We're okay with Brown County holding loans. So you're looking for a motion for us, from us to, and
If you want to make a motion, feel free. Otherwise, if you just want to direct me and say, Scott, yes, go ahead, you can do that as
I
well.
don't think we really need a motion, do we?
You do not.
Okay, unless you wanted one.
As long as I have approval from the committee, and therefore, as long as I have approval from the committee, so that way when I'm starting to do this, I know that I'm doing it with the committee's approval, I am fine.
Yeah, getting houses in disrepair repaired is always a good thing. Yes.
I would think that a simple motion of support, from this committee, I think would be appropriate, and I would move.
Supervisor Wagner makes a motion to support that. Second by Supervisor Poppy. Any other discussion?
And what are we supporting exactly to participate in the Brown County Consortium?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Chairman's report. I have, the only thing to report is salary review committee did meet and had a discussion. I anticipate they'll probably meet one more time, make a few recommendations, and wrap up their work fairly quickly. Next meeting, we would be at April 5th at 6 p.m., correct? Unless anybody has a problem with that date. April 5th, 6 p.m. Do I have a motion for that? Supervisor Haskey, second by Augustine. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion, yes, sir. Yes, county, good point, Supervisor Poppy. The county board meeting, you notice all of the tables around you. The next county board meeting, which is, what's the date on that? 16th, Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. That is going to be here. So please change your location. Supervisor Yonke, if you just keep going to the same place, you should be okay this month.
Parks? What about Parks?
No, it's here.
We're
It's
not
here. You have your meetings in too many different locations. That's your problem. You don't ever know where you're supposed to be. If you would just have everything in the same place, you would you'd be all right.
Yep.
But you don't do that. Which, by the way, how are things going with the weather now? Probably not too good at Winter Park.
Well, Dave texted me yesterday. He said that last weekend would be it for the tubing hill because of the weather. Otherwise, the numbers are good. We'll find out tomorrow night.
I'm
I'll give you a
assuming.
call.
What's that?
I'll give you a call after I find out the numbers tomorrow night.
If it's not past 8:30. I'm salaried. It's okay.
Okay.
Me
too.
But and how is the? I'm assuming the ice skating probably is not going as well.
Not right now. No.
Yeah, that's close.
That no. It needs cold.
Ice skating, but we will be able to be here because with the tables, I hope that all of the supervisors would be comfortable. I don't anticipate a problem. I mean, I know that there are more people in the room, but Cindy, it should be noted that Cindy was okay with it. Oh, good question, Supervisor Poppy. Spectators, we'll line them up in the hallway.
There's a few that could make it into the back there.
Supervisor
not
Wagner
many.
likes having spectators, so. He's used to the peanut gallery, so they will be okay being in the chairs in the back. I mean, that shouldn't be.
As long as there's a handful as usual.
Well, I mean, Supervisor Wagner should take care of all of the rowdies for us. Yeah, so we shouldn't have any problems. It's been too quiet. You guys are doing too good a job. Isn't that right? Give you a That's it. Yeah, you keep asking. So anything else for this committee? I think motion to adjourn by
I'll second.
Wagner, second by Poppy. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.